Mr. Joe Cursio, welcome to the Combat and Conversation podcast.
Thank you.
The founder of FightFit is in the building right now. Welcome. Let's start from the beginning. I want to know, what was the inception of FightFit? What was the vision behind it, and how did it get started?
Pretty much, I'd been involved in promoting with Paul Fifield. I'd had some dealings, managed Tosca. At the time, I did a promotion where Costiazou fought Jesse James Layer in Melbourne, and there was such a huge interest. We had 30,000 people come to the show, and all these people wanted to do boxing as a result of a big show. They got excited and they said, "Oh, we'd love to train like fighters do, but we're too scared to go into an old, traditional old boxing gym." At that stage was where you walked in, put $2 on the fridge, and you looked down, there was blood stains everywhere, and that was very intimidating for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I spoke to Paul. I said, "Well, what about doing a boxing gym that still had the grit of a boxing gym, but was mainstream, that allowed people that could come in, women could come and train, men could come and train, that weren't fighters, but not feel intimidated, but it wasn't going to be a fitness first type boxing."
Right. Yep.
So it really was born out of that, and from there, I was lucky enough to acquire the site. Had some friends. Albert Mudo worked at Carlin's Motor Auctions, and there was a huge space there, which was obviously FightFit's original space. And we went to work. Took about 5 months to rip all these offices down. So it was a labour of love. Paul and I, although I never saw Paul do one bit of manual work of the renovation.
Right. Wow.
But his support was there.
Yes.
So it took about 4 or 5 months, I think, to renovate.
Fantastic.
And then we opened up.
And what year was this?
It was in 2008.
2008. And I'm assuming you're indicating here that before that period of time, there wasn't really something like that on the market. There wasn't like a mainstream commercial boxing gym out there that catered not only to fighters, but also for everyone. And at the same time, not just like a regular fitness group. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much so. Look, there was 1 or 2 gyms that catered a little bit more for mainstream, but not to the extent that the way we marketed, the way we did everything. The good thing about FightFit, and I've always said this, as much as we were a mainstream that we were open to anyone, we still really had some really hardcore people behind us that knew the fight game. To be a little bit self-indulgent, I'd been a promoter. I knew, what the panaz about fighting, excitement. I can remember, and to mention your father, I used to go as a young bloke and watch Chris Cronus shows. I would sit there in awe at them. And then you've got the back end where we had Paul Fifield, who was so well respected amongst everybody in the fight game. Obviously Tosca Petrides. And the great thing that when we opened FightFit, all the guys that trained, we had a policy that no one took a class unless they'd fought or had some fight experience.
It was a prestige element.
So in the early days, if you look back at our trainers, that's what set us apart. We had Eddie Delic, who was Australian welterweight champion at the time. Tosca Petrides would be standing there. You had Paul. You had, even all the other guys that come in and train, Dean Delic. We had guys that had been around or had trained with Paul or other boxing gyms. So there certainly wasn't anyone that had done a course, and all due respect to those people.
Of course, yeah.
But we had some substance behind us. And I think that's what made a big difference.
Right, and there was an element of real life boxing experience at the gym that you probably couldn't get elsewhere at the time. And now just looking back, I guess, how has the vision for FightFit in its inception, how has that changed, if at all, sort of where we are now? Can you see an evolution there, and how has it changed?
Personally, I think, if you said to me that we'd be still talking about FightFit and it's 2025, I would have been like, I'd be absolutely over the moon, which I am. The fact that the current people that are running FightFit bash to walk into FightFit still feels the same. Like I've walked into Moorabbin today. I hadn't been out to FightFit Moorabbin.
Yeah, yeah.
And straight away I got excited. How it reminds me of when we first opened FightFit. It still has that feel of a boxing gym.
Yeah.
But it's still nice and neat, corporate, all the corporate colours.
Yeah.
It feels inviting for a boxer could walk in here and realise it's a boxing gym. But also someone could walk in and think, oh, it's a nice corporate gym as well.
Yes, yeah.
So
it's got a bit of everything.
It's a real fine line and I think FightFit got it right and still gets it right to this day, with the fine line of being, hardcore, but also still refined.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's part of the unique package of FightFit.
Yes, yeah.
Now, in the beginning, what would you say were some of the, I guess, obstacles to help obviously grow the brand as well, but even just in the initial dealings of operating a gym, what was that like?
Well, I think the initial obstacle we had was telling people to come in and train and don't be scared, you're not going to get hit.
Right, yeah.
And obviously from a gender perspective, we made a really big effort to make sure we got some girls in early, and they were always attractive. We were lucky in the area we're at. We had a lot of attractive women come in and train. And at one point, you'd look into a class and there'd be these model type looking girls, but they could throw a jab, they could throw a hook, they could weave, they could duck. And at the time, there was a famous Victoria's Secret model, Brazilian Lima, Adriana Lima, who was boxing in New York. And I think there was an article in one of the, back then there was magazines, there was an article in a magazine and she spoke about what boxing did for her. And the amount of women that came in and said, I want to look like her. So it wasn't unusual to have a bikie full of tattoos on one bag, an absolute Chadwick model on another bag, and then an accountant on another bag, and it was just a melting pot of different demographics, and that's what made it work.
Right. But you're saying at the start people may have seen that and been like, oh, what is this really about? It was a bit confronting.
Yeah, it would have been confronting thinking that they were going to walk into a gym full of just boxers.
Right.
But then over time, we made, our marketing was towards women. So we sort of probably pushed towards women. And then when the women came, it was funny, guys that were boxers saw, oh, well, women are training there. So I'm not going to feel intimidated going in and training. So you had your accountants, your doctors, and like I said, and then it was a whole mixture of all different people that came together. But initially, the hard thing would have been saying it's not a boxing gym.
Right. And it also seems like the community that was set in stone at that point with the trainers and the experience that they had, that in itself would have been quite confronting for anyone, because it's like, oh, I'm dealing with serious fighters here. This is a confronting situation. But once you get in there and you actually start training with these people, they're some of the most, like, the loveliest people you could possibly imagine.
Well, that was probably the selling point.
Yes.
I always likened it to, all the academics at school, when you're at school, they used to love to be friends with the tough guy.
Yeah, right. Opposites attract.
And nothing's changed. When people first came in, you could see them walk in. They were scared to walk into the gym. But 6 weeks later, they're high-fiving Tosca, having a laugh with Paul, and it was like they felt secure that they were part of, there really was a strong tribe-like atmosphere in the gym. That you said you trained at FightFit. And we'd have, guys who were, worked as a librarian during the day or whatever, stand there and go, I train at FightFit.
It was a badge of honor.
Or they'd be out somewhere at a club in the corner and Tosca would walk past him and he'd say, g'day. And they'd turn to their mates and say, and they'd go, how do you know Tosca Green? I train with him. There was a lot of that. And I think, that wasn't my side, was the marketing side, but from the substance side, it was always the trainers. It was always, Paul, all of Paul's guys that trained with Paul at the time would come and train at FightFit. They didn't use FightFit all the time because they'd still train with Paul at his home.
Of course,
But they would come and train at FightFit. So people loved being around it.
There was a real feel, it was a real atmosphere there that people wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, so, and that was the first in Melbourne.
Of course, yeah. That's what set it apart from all these other gyms, as we're talking about. Now, in its initial stages, what was the growth like in terms of numbers? Was it something that sort of just went from glory to glory, or did it take some time to really take off?
It took some time. It was just a slow burn at the start, but when it got to sort of about the 3 or 4 month stage, everyone had started improving their boxing. And this is where the FightFit Challenge became. So people were training, and then I could see them starting to think, oh, you know, I want to try my skill. So that's where I sort of come up with the idea of the FightFit Challenge. So I said to Paul, sat him down and said, what do you think about these guys having a fight?
Yeah.
And he said, oh, not as amateurs or pros. No, they're not ready.
Yeah.
I said, but they need something else. They need a little bit more. They need a bit more incentive to train, and you can see that they want to keep going, but they're starting to plateau. And so then I said, what about if we put a show on where it was like a corporate show where they all fought each other? And I, lucky enough, about 6 years earlier, went to a show in New York, a corporate boxing show in like a loft. It was a black tie. I thought, what a great idea. All these guys got to fight, feel like they were real fighters, which they weren't. And the other thing is, you know, most people that in the early days that did the challenge didn't believe that they were real fighters. All we were doing was putting a platform for them to feel like it, to understand what it was like going into a fight.
Get the buzz.
Yeah, get the buzz, have an 8-week fight camp, telling their friends they're not drinking because they're fighting. You know, all these, that's what made it so successful. But in the early days of FightFit, to go back to what I was saying, it was a slow burn until we really decided that you want to have a fight. And then we had a lot of people come to train with Paul.
Yes.
I think we had, the first time, we had like, 60 people.
Wow.
Wanted to start. They all dropped off once they realised getting punched in the face isn't fun.
yeah.
But the initial days, and a lot of them were my mates who had been around the boxing. Most of the people in the early days had been around the boxing scene as an audience and thought, hey, you know, I've seen all my heroes work out, like the old days, like your Gurkhan Oskins, your Porky Lovetts, to come out to a huge crowd. Thought, geez, I'd like to do that, but I'm not, skilled enough to do it.
Yes.
So then suddenly there was a platform, a vehicle for them to live out their wildest fantasies.
Of course.
And that's what it was. I actually fought in one of them. It was the same thing, because I wanted to, I'd been involved in boxing for so long out the back in the change rooms before, for world title fights, for this. And, for me even to do it when I did it, it made me feel important within myself that I was having a fight.
Yeah.
It was, So I could see, from that day, there was a huge, huge market for this concept.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And it's funny because now, I see it with a bunch of the contestants who have gone through the challenge. There's this real pitch towards them about, this is a life-changing experience. This is transformative because, as you said, people will stop drinking, they'll drop all their bad habits, and they'll jump in the ring, and it's something so exhilarating. But it also sounds like from the early days, the pitch was also like, live out your wildest dreams here. Like you're coming out, you're Mike Tyson here, like go under the bright lights, you got your music, you come out and you actually have a fight. And it's like this dual aspect, this dual, I guess, inspiration for people, which is not only am I dropping all my bad habits and becoming fit and healthy and sort of overcoming my inner struggles, but at the same time, I'm getting to be a star for a night.
Yeah.
I could potentially get the knockout or whatever it is. So it's funny how that never was really considered prior to the challenge. And even now, it's something that is uniquely FightFit. I'm sure you agree with that it's
totally.
We have seen similar setups before, but it hasn't had the same pizzazz as the challenge. And I'm not too sure if that was something that you saw from the beginning, like, hey, this is an untapped market. Did you see it progressing to where it is now, number 30, which is coming up very soon?
Oh, it's been fantastic that we're up to 30, and I think the main thing, why FightFit's challenge has been so successful and had longevity, is we were always very, very conscious, first and foremost, to protect the people that were fighting. Like even professional fighters need to be protected from themselves, but people that are just learning need to be protected even more. So I think why we were so successful is a lot of these corporate nights or gyms, they all trained individually at all different gyms, where we made people, everybody trained in the same gym. So when we had the first FightFit challenge, I think we had, from memory, there's probably 15, 16 fights. The 32 people all trained together the whole time.
Right.
And I said to Paul, what we don't want to do is I wanted everyone the opportunity to live out their fantasy of fighting, but in a controlled and safe environment.
Right.
So we weren't looking for people to get knocked out. We weren't looking for someone to, fight someone who they definitely were going to get the win. Because I've seen some of these corporate shows where the big ticket seller always gets a win.
Yeah.
And there's always some poor cannon fodder, some guy who they throw in and he gets beat. So Paul and I were very conscious of making it an even playing field for everyone. So there were lots of times during the training where we thought, geez, this guy's, he's not going to get there. He's not going to make it. He's no good. There's no way he's going to fight. And slowly he's got better, and slowly he's got better over the training. And then we've changed so many times the night before, and it would still happen now, I'm sure, with Bash, where he would be thinking that person A is going to fight person B, but then the night before, because someone's trained better and got better, that you've changed the fights. We changed the fights, who was going to fight who. We never really knew up until probably the last 48 hours of who was going to fight who. And there was always someone that surprised you. But I think we've been successful, well, not we now, but FightFit's been successful because there's always been that duty of care to make sure if you wanted to fight, that you're going to get the best opportunity, but you're not just going to get thrown in and get hurt.
Right. And would you say that's one of the most rewarding things from a founder's perspective, just seeing people getting in there and leaving safely and leaving, with their head on their shoulders? Is that something that's...
Well, they leave safely after the fight, not after the after party.
Right.
Probably the greatest eye-opener was the after party. Once again, this is self-indulgent. I would have had nearly every guy come up to me, kiss me, tell me I've changed their life.
Right.
It's the greatest thing Paul and you have done for me.
Yep.
I'm so much better at this and that.
Yep.
And, like, they're all, they've had 9,000 drinks, but the amount of people just coming up to me on the first challenge at night saying it was so great, it was so rewarding, that I didn't expect that. And, that was something, anybody who tries to develop something has got a long-term goal, but I didn't envisage that it was going to change people's lives.
Yes, yeah.
And, some people might say, oh, come on, that's a big call. But a lot of people have said it made them realise they can do anything.
That's right.
And if anyone is trained with Paul Fifield, knows after, I never thought I could do 300 burpees in my life, in one night.
Yeah.
And I can sit here and say that I've done that.
Yes, yeah.
Would I be able to ever do it again? No.
No, exactly right.
You learn, boxing teaches you about yourself. You don't learn about boxing. These ones, it teaches you about yourself.
Right, and actually that leads into my next question, which is how much of the challenge do you believe is simply overcoming, again, like sort of your own mental blockages, or how much of it is physical? Is a lot of this process simply a way of, I guess, overcoming yourself, or is it, really the physical challenge that's the hardest part, or is it a bit of both?
It's a physical, but I think, and this comes into the way Paul trains people, and I see a lot of people that have trained under Paul who now have their own gyms. I see they train the same way. If you're training with Paul, it's a physical thing. It's definitely, for the average bloke to come in and do 100 sit-ups first go, they can't do it.
Yep.
So the physical side's hard, but what Paul always used to do, and I can remember there was a guy, Matt Dean, who had his first fight with us. He's a friend of mine. And he was sparring, and this is in the lead up to the early the first challenge. And he was told he was going to do 2 rounds sparring. And so he got in the ring, did his 2 rounds, and he was absolutely exhausted. And at the end of the round, Paul looked over and goes, "Another round." And I saw Matt's face. He nearly just started crying, nearly dropped to the floor.
Yeah.
But I also saw it was Paul's way of teaching, it was the mental side. So Matt thought he was out, and then Paul said he got, who was in there? One of the fighters to come in who was an actual fighter. He said, "You do the last round with him." It was purely mental.
Yeah.
So once Matt had got through that, he realised when he fought on the night, there was nothing that was going to upset him.
Right.
See, he thought he was at the end, and he had to do another round.
Yeah.
And the way Paul trains people, it's always mental.
Yeah.
You know, you always got that. So I think the other thing we don't just throw people in, try to get them fit. We try to get them mentally fit for the fight, which I think for your first fight, it's probably more important than actual physical.
Yeah. So it's all about, again, just putting yourself in there and making sure that you do those hard rounds, for example, in sparring. So then when the fight comes, you've prepared for everything.
Yeah.
I think I've definitely seen, just being around the contestants who are, so nervous before a fight, but then there's another half that are like, "Hey, I've done everything I can do.
Yeah.
I'm just going to enjoy the night." And then they come there and they're having a good time. And then even when they step out of the ring, regardless if they win or lose, they're proud of themselves because they've put themselves through the paces. And it's funny because I think that even just listening to you now, there's always been this real pull in terms of the marketplace, I guess, for people wanting to actually have those experiences. You go to a gym like FightFit, or then you can just hit the bag for a little bit, but there's an extra level here that FightFit provides, which is like, no, here you can really test yourself if you would like to do it. That opportunity is always there, and you just don't really see that in other places. And if they are there, a lot of it's probably influenced by FightFit, I would argue, and I'm sure you would argue the same thing.
I'd like to agree with you. I'm sure there's people that, we didn't reinvent the wheel.
Of course.
We just chipped away and made it a bit smoother.
Yes, of course. And at its inception, now sort of talking about the business side of things, was it always part of the plan to eventually branch out into other sites and potentially take it overseas? Was that part of the initial vision of FightFit?
Yeah, definitely. Things change, and there's obviously different things within people's lives. But initially when I opened, when I saw how well it went, and then when we brought the challenge in and I saw it go up another notch, and that's when the second or third challenge, we sort of went up another notch and did a TV show.
Right.
And that's when it really went. That's when I really started thinking about multiple sites. So we were lucky enough to meet, I had a gentleman by the name of Rob who was training with us, who had Fuzzy TV. And I took to him the idea of filming the challenge, and basically doing like the UFC were doing, backgrounds on like a contender series, finding out, creating heroes, learning about getting different sides, so we wanted to do a show where people got to learn about, Nikita's fighting. Gee, he's he does this. His dad was a promoter.
The story.
Learn about you, and then learn about the backstory about the guy that you are going to fight. And so we went ahead and did the FightFit challenge, which went on Fuel TV on Foxtel. And that once the first episode came out, that's when I knew this needed multiple sites, because I had people ringing me in Queensland, all over, wanting to, where can I train? I want to do this. And here we were, just Melbourne based in South Melbourne.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was always, and I'm glad now that I hadn't been to Moorabbin, walking into Moorabbin today, it's and Collingwood. And obviously now there's New Zealand.
That's right.
So, they've done a great job, the guys that took over after I left. So yeah, it makes me proud to actually see it, even though I've had nothing to do with the last bit of it.
Yeah. But you were part of the initial story. That's why it's so fascinating and so important. Now, is this around the same time with the TV show and whatnot? Is this when the celebrities started flooding into the market? I know that you had a couple of big names come down to the gym.
Yeah, we were really lucky with our location. So we were close to Crown Casino, obviously. So we had a lot of, we got a lot of, exposure so I had a good friend, Heath O'Loughlin, who was the media manager at North Melbourne Football Club. So he used to help out doing a lot of, getting on board with all the journos. So we had a fair bit of press. We were in the Financial Review, which that's probably out of all the different publications and newspapers, that was my favourite one. Boy from Willie High had an article about him in the Fin Review. It wasn't bad to see the score year 10. So we, with the amount of exposure, then suddenly I got a phone call we had a girl train at the gym who worked for Mushroom Records and had a lot of contacts. Anyway, long story short, all the celebrities not all, but a lot that stayed at Crown would then come around and train. So we had Pink train at FightFit. We had Hulk Hogan.
The Hulk stuff.
We had Randy Couture, who was the UFC heavyweight champion. Bruce Buffer. Bruce Buffer trained at FightFit. God, the list.
Adriana Lima, was it Lima one of the models?
No, I wish. No. Adriana never came. We extended out. It was a bit creepy. 15 different invites, and she never came. But
fair enough.
We had from Expendables, Jason
Statham.
He trained there. But yeah, over the time, Harry Kuehl had Melbourne Storm used it for their pre-season. Melbourne Victory, North Melbourne Football Club, Melbourne Football Club. So all like within Melbourne, all the sporting clubs trained out of there.
Right, it became like a hub, an institution. It's like,
and I think it had to do. There was a lot of things that came together that were perfect, aligned really well. One being the location.
Yes.
And the location was fantastic. South Melbourne was perfect. And where it was, they had access from the western suburbs, access, from the eastern suburbs. So that played a good part. And, good trainers. Everybody who's ever trained at FightFit couldn't believe how relaxed it was and how it was like a tribe. We all looked after each other, had a lot of fun.
Yes.
There's a lot of people were... they didn't quite understand how close everyone was.
Right.
Everyone had your back at FightFit. So we had different people from all different walks of life.
Yes.
And they all got on and all trained together.
That's fantastic. Now, I know that, it is that sort of community feel that FightFit has, that it still has. That was such a big part of the appeal of the club, the gym in its initial stages. But you also had a little bit of opposition too. I believe there's a story maybe 3 months into opening the gym, there was a bit of an incident at the gym.
Yeah, we had.
It was a bit of trouble.
I think, I don't. It was to this day we still don't know who was responsible, but someone didn't like what we were doing, and the gym got trashed. But it actually was funny. We got it was a day after a FightFit challenge.
Which challenge was it? Do you remember?
It was in the early stages.
Okay.
And we walked in. We'd had a big night. Walked into the gym, and the gym had been trashed. But what came out of it, we never lost a day's trade. And within 2 hours of me notifying everyone, Paul, Fifield, all the trainers, Eddie, all the members were there cleaning up. Everlast were fantastic. They provided all new bags. We never lost a day's trade. So it actually probably forged us
community
closer together. And, we weren't, because at one point I thought, is it all worth it? And then we had members saying, no, we've got to keep going, So we chose to go, not let it worry us. We just forged ahead, and and here we are, still going.
Well, it's a testament to the sort of, again, that community feel that the gym has, where people are willing to sort of get together and help out, in a time of need, really.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at that early stage, it was quite pivotal to sort of solidify those ties with the group, which is beautiful. It's a blessing that comes out of a bad situation.
Yeah, there's always good out of bad.
Of course. Now, looking back throughout the years, obviously the success of FightFit has been immense. We have got Challenge 30 coming up very soon, and also we're having our first ever FightFit Challenge in New Zealand. I mean, what's going through your head in terms of, I guess, your proudest moment so far? What's something that you can look back and say, hey, this is what I'm really proud of?
Well, I think it's the longevity of it. I really believed in the brand. We developed So I can still remember I sat in a room, was myself, a gentleman by the name of Hamish Robertson, who helped develop the brand and worked really hard on it. And we developed it. Initially, the word fight, we were a bit concerned about having the word fight in FightFit.
Okay, yeah.
So I thought, is it too strong a word? Is it going to scare people off? And we debated, should we have it? Should we come up with other names? Should it be more corporate-y?
Yeah.
And we finalised the name, came and said, yeah, we'll stay with FightFit.
Right.
But I've been really proud of the brand that it goes across. People love putting a FightFit top on. They still do.
Yeah.
They love the feel about feeling tough. I don't know what it is, but when we started doing merch, people loved wearing it.
Yeah.
And it always used to amaze me. It was always the people I never thought would wear it.
It's part of the tribe, like you were saying before.
Yeah. So I, from afar, because I got out of FightFit, I think in 2010 or somewhere around there. I still run across people and they've got a FightFit top on.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I go, FightFit. And they go, oh, do you know it? I go, oh yeah, I used to train there.
Yeah, no.
So that's probably my proudest thing. And to see what Bash has done with the brand, it hasn't fallen away. Normally you sell a business and then they might change the name or whatever. But for me to sit here now and, my kids are grown up now and they still run into people that train at FightFit.
Yeah.
It's still something it's close to my heart.
Of course.
And the New Zealand one's really close to me as well. And there's the reason being Rowan, who runs New Zealand, he walked into FightFit in the early days. He just got off a plane from New Zealand, didn't have a job, and he said, he was looking to work. And we started. I hired Rowan. And from day one, I knew he was always going to be successful and he'd only own his own gym one day. Mm-hmm. And here we are now talking, I don't know, what is it, how many years, 15, 20 years later or whatever, and he's about to put a show on in New Zealand. Mm. So that makes me proud that it's helped so many people from a business perspective that have worked and have paid for, with so many trainers, it's paid for them to get through uni and whatever, and they've gone on and done other things. And people have branched out from FightFit and started their own thing. Yeah. And I think that it comes back to the quality of the people that we attracted, the quality of the people that Paul attracted for training, the quality of people that came to train with us from the marketing people we had involved. It's been, things don't last this long if they're not good.
Of course.
And it's still going strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned the ability for FightFit to sort of integrate people from all walks of life, including coaches, kids who are coming out of high school or, going through uni or whatnot, and they're coming here to learn a bit more about boxing or become a trainer themselves. I mean, we have musicians, we have everyone that's coming in here and leaving as well with going down different career paths, but they can all say I really learned a lot from FightFit because, as you were mentioning, the principles apply to all walks of life, really. The principles that you learn at the gym, if it's, going through a hard training session with Paul back in the day or even Tosca now or whoever's training, the principles apply everywhere. So it's a kind of an all-round education you can actually get at a place like FightFit, in my opinion. I'm sure you agree with that too. Now, looking into the future, obviously you've got a bit of distance with the gym now. What would you like to see happen with FightFit? If you could speak on that, anything that you would, hope for the gym or anything that you would like to see implemented potentially? Where would you like to see the gym, for example, in 5-6 years?
Well, with FightFit as being the first type of boxing gym Australia-wide, I think there's a lot of boxing gyms that are around now that have opened up that think they're similar. I think FightFit, what I'd really like to see with FightFit is still invest in their staff with their trainers, which we still have. Most people that train here have had fight experience. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of gyms now we can go in. It's got all the bags. Anyone can set up a bag, 10 bags in a room and call it whatever, but still not have the substance behind it. The people that know boxing. Nick Carra runs Moorabbin here. Could you get a more qualified guy to run a fight gym? Yeah. So I think moving forward, I'd like to see FightFit open, and this is self-indulgent again, as many as they can, and find the Nick Carras that have fought before, that want a great brand.
Yes.
That don't have to start their own brand. They've got the expertise, the business acumen of someone like Bash behind them.
Yes.
So I'd like to see FightFit find another 6, 7 Nick Carras, and open up, and still continue the FightFit Challenge, but also go into, there's a huge space in corporate environments.
Yep.
And especially with corporates that now don't work together. A lot of people work from home. My latest thing is, I think with people working from home, there's not that feeling like a team. They're not with each other. So I'd like to see, corporate people come and train, twice a week, meet at a FightFit and train. I think that's a big space for people to work through, which will have massive effects for morale within businesses.
Of course.
And people have got a lot more time now, so you can come and train during the day. So I'd like to see that. The challenge, also, there's other areas that people haven't looked at. I know Batch is looking at, doing masters and things like that with people that are older that want to fight. It's endless. But as long as the brand's still strong and they keep the orange, it's my favourite colour.
The orange, yeah.
I was always worried that they were going to change the colours, but yeah.
What's the idea behind that? Why orange?
Well, at the time, orange wasn't a cool colour. Maybe it still isn't.
Was it in fashion?
Was it in fashion? And I always liked it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see the AFL took it on board when they started GWS. So
yes.
I'm going to claim that the AFL copied us.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah. It always. Most gyms are dark and dingy. I like it's like a yin and yang.
The pizzazz.
Dark side of all the black.
That's right.
And then the orange sort of gives it a bit of splash.
And what about the logo? Was that just?
Oh, the logo now. I hope there's no copyright here. So I worked with Kostya Zoo.
Yes.
A bit, and Kostya had a similar logo, and certainly not exactly the same, but a similar logo, and I always liked it. And I've noticed Danny Green's got a similar. I mean, once again, it wasn't my marketing brilliance. It was I saw something that I liked, and we tweaked it a bit.
Right.
And I always liked the fact that every time we did a show or there was a bit of merch that had that logo, so you even if I'm half blind, but so I can't read from a distance, but I always can see a logo. And I still, sometimes I'm in a crowd and I see that logo straight away.
It's distinctly FightFit.
Yeah, it's distinctive FightFit.
Fantastic.
And it's orange.
That's it. That's exactly right. Now, just on a personal note, what's happening with you now? What's on the horizon for you personally?
Well, I've been overseas a bit lately, getting involved with the bare knuckle, BKFC. So I've been campaigning to get that legalised in Australia. So I did a similar thing years ago when I left FightFit, where I actually was the first MMA promoter in Victoria. This is when the UFC was struggling people were struggling to understand what UFC was. So I've sort of gone back in time. I'm back to trying to get something legalised to show that there is a market for it. And a lot of people are against, the bare knuckle, and I can see why. But there's also a lot of people that want to watch it. So the space I'm in at the moment is working closely with the boxing board in all different states, trying to get this legalised, and that'll probably be my next venture.
Fantastic.
With a bit of luck. So, it's all fun. I always stay... I'm not in the fight game anymore, but I love coming to the FightFit Challenge. And to be honest, I prefer going to the FightFit Challenge than to most boxing shows.
Really?
Because I find the fight's more competitive, more fun.
Right. Yeah. There's more skin in the game too with these fighters.
As we know, with the professional boxing, usually you've got a home team, a home fighter, and they're trying to build up careers. So a lot of the times you don't see a great fight.
Right.
So I like going to where there's two guys that are equally matched going for it.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that our fights were, from an entertainment perspective,
Yes.
are more entertaining than a lot of pro fights.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's nothing against pro fighters.
Of course not. Of course.
Because when you fight someone who can fight, obviously there's a lot of respect, and you're not going for it because you know that you can potentially.
And they're looking
knocked
for
out.
longevity as well in their careers.
But these guys, when you got Jack, from Moorabbin fighting Bill from Williamstown, they just want to crack on.
I know, it's fantastic.
And the crowd love it, and that's why they're always so. Some of these fights that have been at FightFit where the crowd's gone nuts.
Yes.
It's more atmosphere than a pro fight.
Well, I'll ask you this: are there any particular fight challenges that have stood out? If you could you recall any one particular night that was really sensational for you?
I'll always say the ones that I did, but
of course.
No, look, there's been. I think there was there's been some really good. A couple of girls have fought on the shows, and everyone, I've got this thing. I'm not overly excited about AFLW football because I don't feel that the skill level's where it should be yet. But we've had some girls fight on a FightFit challenge and then gone on and fought amateurs. We had one girl, and Bash, I hope you can remind me her name. Lauren Sheldon. She fought, I convinced her to fight. Her father was a famous footballer, Ken Sheldon, played at Carlton. Anyway, he came down, he was very nervous about his blonde girl, his young blonde daughter fighting. She had a FightFit challenge, then really got into it, won an Australian title as an amateur.
Wow.
That's something that I would never thought would have happened.
Right.
So when you say what was one of the, watching her fight on a show.
Yeah.
And there's been some guys with big reputations in around town that have fought.
Yeah.
And they've had the shit punched out of them by some little accountant who's trained. So I've always been a champion for the underdog. Right. I love the underdog.
It's a great equalizer stepping in the ring. It doesn't matter what your past is. You could be, John Doe from some, area in Melbourne when no one's heard of, and then you can come and fight someone who's got, that reputation. And then they come in the ring and, all bets are off once you're stepping in. And that's what's so beautiful about it as well, because again, it can bring so much confidence to people, like an accountant, as you're talking about, who's never really done anything physical like that in their life. All of a sudden they're stepping in and they're feeling like Tyson.
Yeah.
This is the excitement of everything. One last question for you I have is, are you going to come back to the gym anytime soon for maybe another session, another boxing session?
A boxing session?
Why not?
I said the biggest problem for me when I come back to the gym, and I noticed it last time, Paul and Bash said, come and train with the challenge guys. And I'm getting older. I'm 57. I thought, I want.
You look fantastic for 57.
I'll come and train. Yeah. But I started training, and I noticed because I just wanted to come in under the radar, not tell anyone.
How long ago was this?
About 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. But thanks to Bash, I went round and told everybody that there's the former.
Of course.
And so they all thought I was some superstar fighter, and I could see them all looking out the corner of their eye. Yeah. While I was training, and I could see them saying, he doesn't look that flash. But then I thought, it's actually good marketing for him. It shows that even the idiot that started it is not the world's greatest fighter. Right. But enjoyed it. But look, I want to come back and
back there for a session.
The body's not what it was. Oh, look, I'll tell you what, I'll put a challenge out now.
Okay, go.
I'll come back and train. Yeah. And I'll fight Bash.
There you go. Maybe that's the next main event.
Yeah,
well, the next challenge.
I'll have to drop about 60 kilos to come down to his weight.
Okay. Fair enough. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Joe,
for
being on the podcast.
Please, all mine.
It was a fantastic time talking to you, and we'll do it again for sure.
Love to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.